The concert hall gleamed with polished elegance. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over the crowd of business executives and donors gathered for the annual Westfield Industries Gala. At 45, CEO Alexander Westfield stood near the grand piano on stage, surveying the room with practiced ease. This fundraiser was essential for the company's charitable foundation, and everything had been planned to perfection. Until the pianist called in sick 2 hours before the event. Alexander's assistant had scrambled to find a replacement, but every professional in the city was already booked. The evening's centerpiece, a piano performance before his keynote speech, was in jeopardy. "We could skip the music," his assistant suggested nervously. "No," Alexander said firmly. "The program promised a piano interlude. We need something." That's when he noticed the janitor. The man was probably in his late 30s, wearing coveralls and cleaning gloves, quietly wiping down the piano keys. He moved with careful attention, treating the instrument with more respect than Alexander had seen from some of the musicians who played it. "You," Alexander called out, an idea forming. Not a good idea, perhaps, but an idea. "Can you play?" The janitor looked up, startled. He had kind eyes, weathered at the edges. "Sir, the piano. Can you play it?" "I can," the man said slowly, "but I'm not sure." "Perfect," Alexander interrupted, his executive instinct taking over. This could work. The wealthy donors loved authenticity, loved feeling connected to ordinary people. A working-class janitor playing piano would give them that warm feeling of supporting someone real. "What's your name?" "Michael. Michael Torres." "Well, Michael, I need a favor. Our pianist is sick. I need someone to play for about 10 minutes while people settle in. Nothing complicated, just something pleasant." Alexander gestured to the audience beginning to take their seats. "Can you do that?" Michael's jaw tightened. "With respect, sir, I don't think. It's for a good cause," Alexander pressed. "The foundation supports music education for underprivileged children. Surely you can help with that." Something flickered across Michael's face. Pain, maybe, or memory. He looked at the piano, then at Alexander, then back at the piano. 10 minutes, Michael said finally. "Excellent," Alexander said, already moving away to adjust his notes. He didn't notice the way Michael's hands trembled slightly as he removed his cleaning gloves. The audience settled into their seats, programs rustling, champagne glasses clinking. Alexander took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we had a small change to tonight's program. Our scheduled pianist is unwell. But in the spirit of our foundation's mission, bringing music to everyone, regardless of background, we're fortunate to have Michael Torres, one of our evening maintenance staff, who has graciously agreed to play for us." Polite applause filled the hall. Alexander saw some exchanged glances, a few indulgent smiles. They thought this would be charmingly mediocre. A feel-good moment before the real program began. Michael walked to the piano bench, still in his coveralls. He sat down slowly, adjusting his position. He stared at the keys for a long moment, not moving. Then his hands touched the piano. The first notes were soft, tentative, a simple melody that sounded almost like a lullaby. The audience quieted, waiting for something amateurish they could politely endure. But then the music changed. Michael's hands moved across the keys with sudden confidence, and the melody deepened into something achingly beautiful. It was Chopin, Alexander realized. Nocturne in E-flat major, but played with such emotion, such raw honesty, that it transformed the familiar piece into something entirely new. The concert hall fell completely silent. Michael's entire body moved with the music, his shoulders rising and falling, his head bowing over the keys. He wasn't just playing notes. He was telling a story of love and loss, of joy remembered and grief carried, of beauty found in broken places. Alexander found himself unable to move. Around him, the sophisticated crowd sat transfixed. Several women dabbed at their eyes. Hardened businessmen stared at the stage with expressions of wonder. The music swelled, reaching heights of passionate intensity, then softened again into something tender and heartbreaking. Michael played with the skill of a master, every phrase carefully shaped, every dynamic change purposeful. This wasn't an amateur. This was an artist. As the final notes faded into silence, no one moved. No one breathed. Then someone in the back stood. Then another. Then the entire audience rose to their feet, applause thundering through the hall. Not polite charity applause. Real applause. the kind reserved for performances that touch something deep and true. Michael sat at the piano, his head bowed, his shoulders shaking. Alexander realized with shock that the man was crying. Alexander crossed the stage quickly, reaching Michael as the applause continued. "That was extraordinary," Alexander said. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Michael looked up, tears streaming down his face. "Juilliard," he said quietly. 20 years ago, I was on track to be a concert pianist. I had a scholarship, a manager, everything. What happened? Life happened," Michael said, standing slowly. "I fell in love. Got married. We had a daughter. My wife was killed in a car accident when our daughter was 3. Brain injury. She never woke up." Alexander's throat constricted. "I had a choice," Michael continued. "Keep pursuing my career, traveling for concerts, leaving my daughter with relatives. Or give it up. Stay home. Be her father." Michael wiped his eyes roughly. "I chose her. I always choose her. She's 16 now. Smart. Beautiful. She wants to study marine biology." "But you're working as a janitor," Alexander said, the words coming out more harshly than intended. "I'm working 3 jobs," Michael corrected calmly. "Janitor here, stocking shelves at a grocery store, weekend maintenance at an apartment complex. Because my daughter has dreams, and those dreams cost money. College costs money. And I will work every job I need to work to make sure she gets everything I couldn't give her mother." Alexander felt something crack open in his chest. Here he was, wealthy beyond measure, successful by every metric. And this man in coveralls had just revealed a kind of love and sacrifice Alexander had never known. "The foundation," Alexander said suddenly. "The music education program. Do you know what it does?" "Provides instruments and lessons to kids who can't afford them," Michael said. "I know. I volunteer there on Sunday afternoons, teaching piano to children who remind me of myself at that age. Kids who have talent but no resources." "You volunteer there?" Alexander repeated, stunned. "While working 3 jobs and raising a daughter alone." "Music saved my life," Michael said simply. "After my wife died, I couldn't speak for months. Couldn't process the grief. But I could play. The piano let me say what words couldn't. If I can give that gift to even one child, it's worth it." The audience had settled back into their seats, waiting. Alexander stood on that stage, his prepared speech suddenly feeling hollow. He'd planned to talk about the importance of charitable giving, of supporting the arts, of making a difference. But standing next to Michael, he realized he didn't understand any of those concepts as deeply as he thought he did. Alexander took the microphone again. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice unsteady, "I need to tell you something. I asked Michael to play tonight thinking it would be a nice gesture, a charming moment. I had no idea who he really was. I saw a janitor in coveralls, and I made assumptions." The audience shifted, uncomfortable. But Michael Torres is not just a janitor. He's a Juilliard-trained pianist who gave up his career to raise his daughter alone after losing his wife. He works 3 jobs to support her dreams. And in whatever spare time he has, he volunteers at our foundation, teaching children who have nothing the gift of music. Alexander's voice broke. "I run this foundation. I write the checks. I give the speeches. But Michael lives it. Every day. Without recognition. Without applause. He is what we aspire to be." He turned to Michael. "I owe you an apology. I asked you to play as a novelty. I didn't see you. I'm sorry." Michael met his gaze steadily. "You gave me a gift, Mr. Westfield. I haven't played that piano in front of people in 15 years. I forgot what it felt like. To share music. To connect with something larger than survival." His voice was thick with emotion. "Thank you for that." After the event, Alexander found Michael in the hallway, changing back into his regular work clothes. "Can we talk?" Alexander asked. They sat in the empty concert hall, the piano still on stage, the chairs vacant. "I want to help," Alexander said. "Your daughter's education, whatever she needs." "No," Michael interrupted firmly. Alexander blinked. "I'm sorry. I don't need charity, Mr. Westfield. I need opportunity." Michael leaned forward. "I'm good at what I do. I'm an excellent pianist. I could teach. I could play. But I need flexibility. I need to be there when my daughter needs me. I need a job that respects that I'm a father first." Alexander understood. "What if the foundation hired you? As the director of our music education program? Full-time salary, benefits, flexible hours. You'd oversee the teachers, develop curriculum, and perform occasionally at fundraising events." Michael stared at him. "That's a real job." not charity. It's a job we desperately need filled, Alexander said honestly. Our current director is retiring. I've been interviewing people for months, but none of them understand what you understand. That music isn't just notes on a page. It's survival. It's hope. It's how we speak when words fail. Tears filled Michael's eyes again. I could do that job well. I know you could. 3 months later, Michael stood on that same stage, conducting the Foundation's youth orchestra. His daughter sat in the front row, beaming with pride. Alexander watched from the audience, remembering the night he'd asked a janitor to play piano as a novelty and discovered a master. After the concert, Michael approached him. My daughter got accepted to her first-choice college, he said. Full scholarship for academics. She's brilliant, Mr. Westfield. And she's kind. Like her mother. You did that, Alexander said. You raised her to be brilliant and kind while sacrificing everything. Not everything, Michael corrected. I sacrificed career for family. But that's not a sacrifice. That's a choice. The best choice I ever made. Alexander thought about his own life. His success. His wealth. His empty apartment and busy calendar and surface-level relationships. Can I ask you something? Alexander said. How do you do it? How do you find meaning when everything feels impossible? Michael smiled. You play the music you're given. Even when the notes are painful. Even when the melody breaks your heart. You play it anyway. Because sometimes that's the only way to get through to the other side. The CEO in the tuxedo and the janitor in coveralls had both learned something that night. Alexander learned that dignity has nothing to do with job titles. That true success is measured in love given and sacrifices made. That the people we overlook might be the very people who could teach us what matters. And Michael learned that his music still had power. That the gift he'd set aside wasn't gone, just waiting. That sometimes the universe gives back what we've given up, in ways we never expected. The concert hall echoed with the last applause of the evening. But the music Michael had played that first night continued to resonate in Alexander's heart, reminding him that the most beautiful performances come from the most honest places. Sometimes a joke reveals the truth, and sometimes a janitor in coveralls can teach a CEO what wealth really means. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below about a time when someone you underestimated taught you something profound. The people we overlook often have the most important lessons to teach.